Hi, this is Steve Platek for Evolution, This View of Life, the Mind section, the magazine that approaches anything and everything from an evolutionary perspective. Today I'm talking with my wife, Dr. Austin Krill. She's adjunct professor of psychology at Georgia Gwinnett College, and she's also going to be joining me as associate co-editor of the Mind section of Evolution, This View of Life. How you doing, Austin?
Hi.
So, Austin, I've been asking the people that I've been interviewing for the magazine how they became interested in the evolutionary perspective.
Okay. Well, I think became interested in the evolutionary perspective because as soon as I heard about it or started reading about it, it just totally made sense for me. Like the world around me started to make more sense than I guess it ever had before. It was just a framework that I was like, oh, of course. It just seems like such a natural application, especially to psychology. So, once I was introduced to evolutionary psychology and then how, the brain develops and how it's all impacted by evolution and natural selection and things, it just was like got the ball rolling I wanted to know how it impacts everything.
Cool. Okay. Tell us about your latest discovery.
Well, my latest discovery has to do with social exclusion, which is my area of interest. And I recently, with you, worked on a study using hyperscanning, so two scanners. And we did an investigation of how well, I guess it's not so much about social exclusion; it's more about cooperation. But is this particular study? But so we looked at how people cooperated while they, in real time, in the scanner, working on a blind, like driving task, which we called a maze task, as they navigated their way through a maze. And we found overall, the gist of it, that people found it more rewarding to work with real people, and that it was more rewarding when they successfully completed the maze working together rather than working alone. So that was our major finding. I mean, the most interesting thing to date, I think, that I have found.
So what do you think that means? Why is it rewarding for people to work together?
Well, I think it's kind of like almost like a neural incentive for us to cooperate with people who we're not related with, or we have no other reason necessarily to do so. We're not necessarily gaining any benefit, but we do have that benefit of that feel-good effect of working and cooperating with someone and accomplishing a task. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's what I think this line of research leads us to another question, which is always great, but I don't necessarily have an answer for that. But that's where I see it going. I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
you're involved too.
Yeah, I'm not certain either. So could it be that cooperation is part of your social exclusion research in the sense that by cooperating with somebody, it rewards our sense of being together, and is that sort of the opposite end of the pendulum from social exclusion?
That's what I would say. I think that people, when they're defecting from cooperation or no longer cooperating with their group, social exclusion tends to be the punishment for that. And so I do think that there's kind of a cycle or some sort of relationship, symbiotic relationship there. I would really like to investigate that relationship even more. But I mean, at this point, I kind of have a mental image and a framework of how I think that works, but I definitely know that as people defect from cooperation or they're not cooperating with other people, which is perhaps rewarding, like our study showed, when they're not doing that, they're excluded, which is not rewarding, which is, comes with a lot of negative impact and effects. So, but I definitely think there's a relationship between the two.
Huh. So, what's the future of this research?
Well, I don't know. Right now, I'm not doing anything about this, but I would like to continue to develop this idea about this model between social exclusion and cooperation. And so I'm planning to write a paper for a special issue of Frontiers that's devoted to social exclusion, to write a paper, kind of a theoretical, idea about what's the relationship there. So I'll be investigating that, I guess, in my own mind and hashing that out.
And we might want to advertise, actually, Austin will be guest editing a special issue of Frontiers in
Yes.
Evolutionary Neuroscience on social exclusion and cooperation. So if anybody wants to submit, they can
Quick, submit.
Quick submit.
Submit abstract in.
Well, tell us about your teaching introductory psychology these days, and tell us about how you utilize the evolutionary framework in your teaching.
Well, I try to incorporate it as a basis for understanding kind of everything. So I think the students, we can teach about different behaviors, why we do this or why we, a lot of what we teach about introductory psychology isn't just what the students think that it's probably going to be about, which is mental illness. They all come and they think they're going to have an abnormal psychology class, and it's not about that. We learn mostly about everyday things that we do. So how learning language, all of this, sleeping, consciousness, and that's what most of the course is focused on. And so I like to talk about evolution and natural selection and how that's shaped these behaviors. So it goes back to, I think there's kind of two levels that I think about things on, is kind of the nature versus nurture. So we can look at nurture and how our environment on a smaller scale has shaped things, but really evolution and natural selection brings in the whole nature part and why, the original question of why we do this, not because my mom was mean to me or this and I act this way or whatever, but the why do we have this behavior.
Okay. So how do your students respond to that?
They all go, they have that aha moment like I did. Thank you for giving me this framework to put the world and organize it. No, they don't do that. But maybe they will later on.
Yeah.
Have you met? I think it's interesting, though. I think I've definitely had some feedback from students that weren't as receptive, but from some students saying, wow, this really makes sense to me, or I never thought of it that way, or I never put those two things together.
Excellent. Good. Okay, well, that's really it. I just wanted to hear about your latest discovery and let other people hear about that and your approach to using evolution in teaching. So thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll see you later at home.
Okay, bye, hon.
Bye.